Simone, I am excited to be here with you today. Today, we are going to be discussing this crazy bomb that the assassin who, shot the firefighter, attempted to shoot Trump.
The Butler shooter.
The firefighter attempting to protect his family, by the way, that the FBI actively and heavily misled the public about who this person was.
What?
But more than that, we're also going to go over that the Tucker Carlson sort of release on this was also heavily misleading and botched.
What?
Which is so sad because he had such a great story here. And then he added a bunch of stuff that's just like easily fact-checkably untrue. So an example of this is, this person, if you've watched the piece, he makes the insinuation that there was this other online user who might be a CIA or FBI asset, and that this person was in an Antifa terrorist organization in Norway. He was not in an Antifa terrorist organization. He was in a white nationalist Nazi terrorist organization.
If you're wondering how he made this mistake, he said in the show that he was listed on an Antifa-linked website, but the website was specifically for tracking people who Antifa saw as radical right-wing activists.
Or he'd say, oh, how did he know that he had this 11-minute window to fly a drone over the event, right? When the reality is that the drone blocking software was actually broken and they were stuck on a support line for up until an hour before the event. So really any time he would have reasonably done the drone, it would have had the blocking out of there because nobody's doing it within an hour of the event. But even worse than that is if he had just gone deeper and actually dug into some of this stuff, then he could have brought up the more confusing thing, which is why did the Secret Service prevent the local police who tried to multiple times use their own drone surveillance on the site from using it? And when they blocked them from using it, they tried to give their drone surveillance to the Secret Service, who refused to use it.
What?
Yeah, so there's been like wild fabrications on both sides, but it looks like, and I think that the evidence right now is actually getting pretty strong, that the FBI attempted to assassinate Trump. And this is the first time that we covered this, but now the evidence is getting to a point where I have to say Tucker Carlson's handlers may have handed him information that was delivered in a sloppy way that almost like it was meant to cast doubt on the theory itself by including so many mistakes. But actually, I'll go over some other ones here that are easy mistakes to get to at the beginning. One that I often hear about this, and everybody wants to bring up, is this guy was in this BlackRock commercial, right, when he was younger, which is like
the shooter.
Yeah, the shooter. Literally irrelevant. It's funny. It's a fun little conspiracy hook. But the reality is that if BlackRock was involved in this, the very last person they would pick is somebody from an old, like what do they think that BlackRock had like a Rolodex of people that had hired an advertise to
be an extra in an ad? Yes,
extras in ads, and been like, we need somebody to assassinate the president. Like, let's pull up our.
He did a great job as an extra. So
old ad extras, right? Yeah. Like I don't think that's not a strong. In fact, that would be like if I was going to I'd ask them, do you have any ties to us? Because I really want to make sure you don't have any ties to us if you're doing something as crazy as assassinating a potential president.
Are you asserting, though, that the FBI was working in concert with the Secret Service, or just that the Secret Service was inept and the FBI was pulling?
I don't know, that the FBI may have been intentionally sabotaging the Secret Service or working in concert with them. Yes.
Oh, so either.
I say that my odds of this now are at around 65%. Which is crazy high for me because I'm usually pretty conservative about conspiracy theories.
Yeah, but when you're weighing how the evidence is going, or like the data points that you have, Occam's razor would actually point then to the FBI, if not anything else.
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
So we're gonna go over this.
Yeah.
I was going to go over some other like false leads that have been going around. And it's just important to know because like if you go out there and you give somebody a list of like 20 suspicious things and like 3 of them are obviously, bad leads, they discount, the other 17.
Yeah.
And I think that that's unfortunately going around a lot in the right now. So another really bad one is people say that a subsidiary of BlackRock took out a bunch of puts on Trump's companies right before this. And then afterwards, because like presumably he was going to die, and then, they'd be able to say, oh, look, like Trump died, and here's my opportunity to, whatever, right? So what actually happened? First, the company is a private investment firm for family offices, so it's not a BlackRock subsidiary.
Right.
And second, and much more damning to this potential claim, is what they'll say was the claim, and they'll be like, "Oh, afterwards they claimed it was a mistake." Like, ha ha ha, so funny, just a mistake. And like when I first heard that, I was like, "Oh, that's really compelling." Like, you don't accidentally put a bunch of puts on a company, right? Like that would be impossible to do, right? Like you presumably you could do it accidentally, but it would be an enormous like financial issue.
Yeah. You'd fire the intern.
Yeah. The problem is the mistake wasn't that they accidentally put a bunch of puts on Trump's companies. The mistake was that it was reported that they put a bunch of puts on Trump's companies. And what makes the mistake extra believable is because the firm that wasn't the investment firm that made this mistake made the mistake with, I think, hundreds or thousands of other investments that day. So it wasn't like if they just lost money in quiet or made a lot of money in quiet, I could be like, hey, they actually would have made money if Trump was assassinated here.
Sure.
And yet what it appears to be the case is that if Trump was assassinated, they wouldn't have made any extra money. They had a very small position on him that was just misreported. And it wasn't like on Trump's broader properties. It was on Truth Social specifically during an election cycle where a lot of progressives thought Truth Social was like a scam. So like that's another thing where it's like, come on, like I can see somebody making puts on that. The final thing, which unfortunately for me is the saddest to have to report, is I think being misinterpreted very wildly, is that the guy was a trans furry.
Oh, so, he wasn't a furry?
Well, he looked at furry porn, but
yeah, I know, but like furry porn also is like Fuda porn, also is like vor porn, also is like so many other, because they just loop all these slightly less common fetishes into one thing for a lot of forms of drawn
fetish
porn,
was
right?
very specific. It wasn't any furry porn. It was very masculine furry bodies with female heads.
That was a weird one.
Great, you can read my mind.
Ignore me! Yes, I can.
And
that's not furry. Yeah, what even is that?
No,
though?
but they were in the furry style. But we actually happen to know what his fetish was because he searched it tons and tons of times.
Oh, so he really knew what he liked. What is this?
His fetish was female bodybuilders.
Oh, why were they hairy?
To human female bodybuilders, extremely muscular women. So if
and the only people who are drawing extremely muscular women also are just furry artists, so that's all they know how to do.
No, that's not the thing. So suppose you're really into extremely muscular women, right?
Okay.
And you're like, I just want any arousing content that is a super normal version of extremely muscular women.
It's gonna be a furry woman.
Right. So this is like, suppose somebody likes breast inflation or something like that.
Yeah.
And they have a folder that is digitally edited images of women with breast inflation. And for every 9 images of that, they have one, hentai image of it or anthro image of it, or you're just going to find that with any particularly.
Well, yeah, I feel like the vast majority of it's going to be hentai because that's where you see, like, I guess I would argue the best done versions of that are hentai.
Yeah, that's often where you have the best versions.
He just loves
really unique.
But like, no, he just likes big boobs. But
yeah.
So
I don't think that he was a furry. I think that he was a what do they call them? Muscle devotees.
Is that what they call them? I'm really, actually, this is my first time really hearing of someone being into that. Like, it's not even in the top NSFW subreddits. I feel like Sharpies and butts is bigger than that. Although I think Sharpies and butts is also just more of a like, haha. Same with the googly eyes.
But
that's too bad.
The point being is this is not indication of significant involvement with, say, the furry community. The second point being that he was trans. So I will go into this point a bit more. The core evidence we have that he was trans is that a DeviantArt account that was associated with his email, and people on the left keep acting like this isn't good evidence that it's his account. It was his email. I mean, what do you think? Somebody stole his email to create a fetish DeviantArt account? Like,
I don't know. Sometimes I get these random, account creation notices associated with old emails of mine.
I understand, but it's not something, when that happens, it's done for scams, not for creating images, where he created a lot of gore images, and I got some shots of what the account looks like, where it was like characters murdering other characters. Looks very much like Among Us memes and stuff like that, like one Among Us thing killing another Among Us thing. That sort of like violence, if you know what I mean. Cartoony, over the top, it just edgelord stuff. But the reason why I associate it with his account is that was the type of stuff he talked about in all of the comments that we know are from him. So it doesn't make sense that it was from a different person.
Okay.
Now, this account that I'm saying, in my mind, 99% probability is his account, is sort of my read on it right now, was listed as a they-them account. Now, and other people point out, and it doesn't even have his real birthday. Okay? So there's two likely probabilities here. If you were going to create a Gooner account on DeviantArt where you were going to look up the pictures I am sure he is mortified that everybody knows that he was into.
Amra, promise me something. My computer's hard drive. I need you to dump it in the bathtub and fry it. All done. Please rest in peace, Satoru.
No, one, why would you put that account under your real age? Like, you would always scramble your age if you're doing an account like that.
Yeah.
Two, why would you put that account under your real gender? You would always scramble your gender if you were creating an account like that.
Yeah.
And three, even if that was his real gender identity, there's two problems. More recent catches of this particular account that people have found have had male pronouns in it. So it appears that the they-them pronoun was only in it for part-time. And two, we know that this guy was an extremist progressive. And this is the bigger part, right? That he was an extremist and violent progressive. So if you're an extremist progressive male and you're just getting into this ideology, and you look like this guy looks, and I can put a picture on the screen here, you're probably going to start identifying as a they-them pretty quickly.
There's really no place for people like me.
What are people like you like?
I want 40-foot-tall women with cat features to step on me.
Especially if, and we've talked about this in other episodes and stuff like that, within extremist progressive circles, the violent men typically quickly start identifying as trans, because then they're not, like called out for being toxically masculine or whatever, right? It's like an easy hack, right?
So, gym class, showing our education system is pure evil.
Why do you talk like a cartoon?
What do you mean? If I talked like a cartoon, I'd go, "What's up, doc?"
No, it's just this general, haha, I'm random cartoon channel talk. Have you ever watched television for adults?
What? Do you mean like porn?
No, just normal. Never mind.
Huh, 'cause I like some wild porn here and there. You probably couldn't handle it. Yeah, I get lost in all these weird websites to get away from my gun nut stepdad. I think he was in Iraq or something. Doesn't matter anyway. I think mom's already looking for a new guy.
A house full of depraved porn and firearms. What could possibly go wrong?
But yeah, unfortunately, most of my fetishes can only be realized through my anime. The realm of the living isn't quite ready for 50-foot-tall vixens.
Yeah.
So, unfortunately, as much as I want it to be true that he's generically trans, I think he's more just like trans identified at best.
Opportunistically trans.
Yeah, opportunistically trans. So now I want to go through the various points. I want to add points. The most important point in all of this, and I have been so annoyed at how the FBI has responded to this, is Tucker Carlson comes out and says, we were told that this shooter had, almost zero online presence, right?
Yeah, I remember that. It was just so frustrating. Everyone was like, who is this guy? Who's the Butler
FBI
shooter? And they're like, I don't
comes out and
know.
says, we never said that.
He's a ghost.
We never said that. We never said that he didn't have an online account. We just didn't talk about it much.
They didn't.
And I'm like, no, I remember you saying that. So here's the exact quote that they said, by the way, that they're saying did not imply that. The investigation conducted by over 480 FBI employees revealed crooks had a limited online and in-person interactions, planned and conducted the attack alone, and did not leak or share intent to engage in the attack with anyone.
Okay.
The problem is that there are multiple instances online in which he said that he wanted to commit an attack, not exactly like this, but some version of terrorist activity, which we'll go over. So that is a bald-faced lie, only insofar if you contrast it to mean this exact incident. But the bigger problem is that they got out there and on air, and all of you are here, right? Like the FBI can say, we didn't say this, but like you existed in this social media environment, so you know that this is what was going around. I know that this is what was going around, which was the FBI confirmed that he, on his accounts, had said anti-Semitic things and he had said anti-immigrant things. Do you remember this?
No.
Yeah, well, they did. They made statements to that fact. The problem is, and this is a very, very big problem, is if you actually track his online comments, those are his older comments. And then he had a transition where he went from fantasizing about unaliving Democratic politicians to fantasizing about unaliving Republican politicians and being vehemently anti-Trump and anti-MAGA. This happened over COVID. What happened to him over COVID? Who knows? Look at our parasite theory. But this happened to him over COVID. And they didn't report this. That is a deliberate misreporting of information from my perspective, right? Like if we had a clear idea, if anyone who had access to his online records had a clear idea of what his actual politics were, and they deliberately misrepresented that as something else, and then they had multiple Congress people ask them to release the results to give more information. They had many like requests for more information. They delayed it for over a year and still have not made the full releases yet.
Wow.
And this is where it gets suspicious because some of the full releases, and note the person who they said they thought groomed him to attack on the Tucker show.
Yeah.
This was a person who was more involved in him in his neo-Nazi days, not in his more modern times. So you could say that maybe the grooming carried over to more modern times. And it was weird that somebody was interacting with his account because his account had almost no followers or interactors, especially interacting with him multiple times. But they did seem to share similar ideologies at the time. Broadly speaking, the timelines don't match up that this individual groomed him. However, there is evidence that he may have been groomed by somebody else. We're going to get into the two big pieces of evidence. I'll just go straight into the two big pieces of evidence.
Please, yes.
The first big piece of evidence was that his body was secretly cremated almost immediately after the event, which is very rare in terms of standard policy for something like this.
Yeah, that's odd.
Worse, the day that it was cremated was the day that other departments began investigating this.
So they hadn't even gotten started. Goodness gracious.
Specifically, he was cremated on the same day the House Homeland Security and Oversight Committees announced they were opening an investigation into the shooting.
Worse, no tissue samples were collected. Worse, they have video of an FBI agent cleaning up the spot where he was killed, and that is not normally done. Usually that is subcontracted. It appears that they wanted to get rid of any evidence of what
in-house
the state of his body was, right?
That's odd.
So to have a
But then again, I mean, it also doesn't seem too odd to me because I don't imagine there's like a really established procedure for the perpetrators of crimes, is there? I mean, even when they've been.
So the guy at the morgue said that he explicitly was given permission by the FBI to move ahead with the cremation. But this was a proactive push
to just burn it down.
Yeah, the FBI. Yeah, to destroy evidence as quickly as possible in a weird way.
But why would his body, I mean, I can understand why it would be nice if we could investigate more, but I don't see why his body would be signs of any form of, like, what would his dead body reveal?
Yeah, so there's two things that we don't have that we should have.
Okay.
We should have access to tapes of him training. Like, that's a very easy one. We know that they have that, and yet they haven't released it. So was he training with somebody else? Two,
why would we have access to tapes of him training? Training where?
Because they have those from the facility, and we have confirmation that
at a gun range
facility was recorded, and the facility said that the tapes were taken by the FBI.
Oh, okay.
So he could have been training with someone, and this is like not being released.
So are you referring to like a security feed at a gun range?
Yes.
Okay, that's helpful.
Where you would have tapes, right?
Yeah, and then okay, that makes sense. That you'd want to see that because sure, if he's with someone, that's relevant.
And the second major issue is that the destruction of bodily evidence is really weird. It is totally outside of normal procedure for something this high profile. It is actually directly against normal procedure for something this high profile in every incident, whether it's not saving tissue, the early release of the body, or their own personnel cleaning up the scene. But it indicates that he may have been drugged or put on some sort of, I mean, keep in mind, we know about the MK Ultra experiments. We know about experiments with certain types of...
He was a good shot, though. I mean, you can't be too drugged.
He missed the shot.
Come on, he hit his earlobe.
It was an easy shot. Everyone says that's a really easy... The people who like know guns are like, it is shocking that he missed his shot.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
So he could have been hopped up on a lot of drugs at the time. It also would explain why he didn't leave an unaliving note or a manifesto, which seems really weird to me. If you're going to do something this big, this high profile, where as soon as you make the shot, every security agent has a bead on you, right?
Yeah.
And the place where he made the shot, we talked about all this in our original video on this, but I will point out, and I'll put a picture on screen here. It's literally the only place, it is like the number one place where if you're like, somebody might try to shoot from where, like literally right there. It is the number one place they would have been.
Well, and I mean, it's also just so weird to me because if you were security for that event, you would want to be there.
Well, what they say is it was in between the long range and the short range security forces. But that doesn't explain why nobody was like, hey, this is the best spot to shoot somebody from in this entire location. And it's completely visible to anyone who is looking at it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Two,
when so many people in the crowd were like, hey, there's a guy up there.
Yeah, you then have this system that keeps the drones from going over and mysteriously go down. You have them not notice a drone flying over for 11 minutes. You have the operator system to fix the drone and not working for multiple hours, out of function for something as important as Secret Service. You have the refusals to use any other form of drone testing. To me, this reads that somebody was handling him up to the event. Otherwise, I would expect a manifesto or unaliving note for something this big. But I want to go further with this because there's more evidence. Oh, the other crazy one is multiple times there was somebody, I want to say the head of the FBI at the time, when he was questioned on this, he said this on 2 separate occasions, okay, that he couldn't discuss any of the things that were going on until the case was over. Now, the problem is there is no active case. The killer died, right? So there should have been nothing preventing him from saying this. So why is he saying until after the case is over? Which is absolutely wild.
So, but that implies that they at least thought, or that he thought, or that there was some understanding that it was believed that this young man was not acting alone, right? That's the implication.
Yeah, it was Paul Abate and director Chris Ray who gave, said, I can't talk about this or put out incomplete stuff. One of the biggest things for me that showed that the FBI absolutely had access to the material that showed, what was I going to say? The material that showed that he had made this ideological shift, like they can't claim like I just didn't know, is that his Google account was suspended the day after the shooting, and it was specifically suspended for links to violent organizations.
Oh.
So it was clear that Google knew this was his YouTube account that was making these far leftist threats. So either Google didn't report this to the FBI, which to me seems completely implausible, or, by the way, another fake lead here that is unfortunately like very easy to debunk is this was the first time CNN covered one of his rallies, and we sort of debunked this in the first one. It is the first time CNN covered one of his rallies, but it was also, I think it was something unique.
Specifically, there was speculation he was going to announce his VP at the event.
So there was some reason why the media was there.
Yeah, and also that's just stupid. If I'm the FBI and I'm the Secret Service and I have, which by the way is much more likely than BlackRock, and I have decided that for job security, because we already know from the CIA leaks that they have said we will do whatever it takes to keep this person from becoming president in those released text exchanges, right? So there were people who had these sentiments. We already know, you know, that they were the ones who had the capacity to carry this out and cover this up and make all these coincidences happen at the same time.
Yeah.
Why would BlackRock be involved in this? Why would they contact CNN and be like, make sure you get it on camera, guys?
You are not connecting the dots. And again, remembering that the new rising sentiment is one against capitalism and people who make money.
No, but the point I'm making, Simone, is that conspiracy theorists are way off on the CNN thing.
Yeah.
If this was BlackRock, they wouldn't have called CNN to let them know.
No,
if
of
this
course
was
not.
the FBI or the Secret Service, they wouldn't have called CNN to let them know.
No, yeah, that's silly. That's silly.
You know, that is silly. Unless it's like literally organized by the DNC, but that also seems pretty ridiculous.
No one would want CNN to be there if they were trying to organize this, per my understanding, because I mean, one, if it's the DNC, they don't want Trump made even more of a martyr by better coverage of the event. And I mean, I guess if you're shorting Trump related companies, it would be better for CNN to film it live for like an initial shock impact that's stronger. Yeah. But I still, you know.
Yeah. So to go over some other ones that I thought were pretty, I mean, the YouTube one really clinches it for me. It shows that they knew, and at the very least, they have systematically manipulated a presidential assassination attempt so that it could be used by leftist media to attempt to prevent Trump from winning the election. That is like 100% confirmed at this point. There is, and then that they tried to cover up that they did that, which is really bad, especially given that Trump had a bunch of people who said that they were going to dig into this, and apparently they just didn't dig into it that much, which is pretty wild. Now, what was the other one? I want to go into some of the quotes. I don't know, have you watched the piece yet? It's absolutely crazy.
I haven't. I have not.
Okay, so here are some quotes from him. How can you call other people sheep, but you are too brainwashed to realize how dumb you are? I mean, literally, you guys sound like a cult at times. This was him talking about Trump supporters.
Okay.
Clearly not a far-right person. In my opinion, the only way to fight the gov is with terrorism-style attacks. Sneak a bomb into an essential building and set it off before anyone sees you. Track down any important politicians, military leaders, etc., and try to assassinate them. Political power grows out of the barrel of a gun. This is a Maoist quote that he said many times. He said of Tucker Carlson show, viruses don't spread through race, just like Tucker Carlson probably told you. This is his criticizing the rightist coverage of COVID. He said, sometimes public safety comes before your personal rights. This was about COVID lockdowns. So those are, you know, like clearly this guy was a far left individual.
Yeah.
Also talked regularly in his far right phase, more regularly in his far right phase, about assassinating politicians and stuff like that. But here he's clearly talking about like sneaking bombs into buildings and stuff like this. One of the things that I don't get is you could get banned from the internet, have your account deactivated if you said one, you know, COVID skeptical thing during this period.
Absolutely.
And yet, this is a guy that is not only threatening to assassinate politicians, but in addition to that, is communicating with people of known terrorist organizations that are on watch lists, this neo-Nazi org, right?
Yeah.
So why wouldn't they know about him unless they did know about him?
Very suspicious.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So, Simone, what are your thoughts?
I really don't know what to think. I don't see why the FBI would want to do this.
Yeah, so there's an easy answer. Do you remember the leak that we have? And this is a leak that we know is a fact. This did happen. CIA agents were texting with each other and said, we will do whatever it takes to prevent Trump from becoming president.
The CIA. Okay, so are you putting this on the CIA or the FBI?
No, but what I'm saying is they have similar corporate cultures. It is wild to me that we know, like the public knows as a fact, that CIA agents were saying to each other in personal text, we will do whatever it takes to prevent Trump from becoming president.
And is this just because the Trump administration is antagonistic toward the government bureaucracy and they just
antagonistic towards the deep state?
And
antagonistic.
So this is the deep state fighting back. This was the deep state saying, let's just undo him.
This was the deep state literally being like, let's rig an election. Yeah, this was an attempt by the FBI to rig an election. Even if they were not involved with the attempt, even if that's true, they still lied about the shooter's ideology. But I will tell you the biggest evidence points for me. So do I think that the FBI would just lie about the shooter's ideology in an attempt to rig an election? Yeah, no, I mean, of course they would. That's totally within their I mean, we know about them faking Russia Gate. We know about, which Simone didn't know about until we went over an episode recently that unfortunately I had to wait to release because we got to do this episode today because this is in the news today. But yeah, that's been thoroughly basically shown that it was really a hoax, like a direct hoax. Like there were people in those organizations who said, hey, I don't want to release this. This information is not accurate. Like basically, can we not release this? And then other people said like, it's coming straight from Obama. Like it was bad. It was bad. It wasn't that exactly. They covered up that in corporo speak if you actually look at the text, but that's the gist of what was said. So we know that they were willing to do stuff like this, right? So like, of course, and that makes were they involved in the assassination a little more shaky. Now where I'm like, but were they involved in the assassination? So let's go over first I'll just go over what cinches it for me that there's absolutely no way they didn't know about this.
Okay.
Google account was taken down. They collected this information. They had hacked his phone within 4 days and had access to all of his information. And Tucker Carlson was able to get all this with a private investigator. Well, I don't know. Maybe it was handled to him by his, Qatari handlers or whatever. But
yeah, what does Nux call him? Tucker Carlson?
Yeah, well, actually, I could go over. I did a little research in this, and there's actually quite a lot of a paper trail tying him to being specifically a paid agent of multiple foreign actors.
Tucker Carlson?
Tucker Carlson, yeah.
If you're looking for receipts here, Qatar hired consulting firms like Lumen 8 Advisors LLC, paying them approximately $180,000 a month for strategic communications and media facilitation. These firms helped arrange high-profile interviews and pitch pro-Qatar stories to conservative media outlets. Conservative activist Laura Loomer claimed that Qatar paid Carlson or TNC around $200,000 for the interview, citing FARA documents. In terms of Russia, Trudeau, which, take what he's saying with the weight that his name carries, claimed under oath that right-wing influencers, including Carlson, were being paid by Russia's state media outlets.
So he's a foreign agent? And everyone's joking about Hassan Piker admitting to being a foreign agent for China, or like basically saying he's a foreign agent.
Well, no, he's basically said that because he's terrified. He thought that.
But he's basically not a foreign agent for China. China freaking arrested him for having a Mao meme on his phone. Meanwhile, Tucker Carlson is actually a foreign agent being paid off by other governments.
That's a separate thing. But yeah, there's quite a lot of evidence that organizations related to him have received significant payments from both Russia and the Qataris.
Oh my goodness.
Which, whatever, you can be like, hey, maybe it's for like legitimate promotion. But if you look at his recent glazing of sort of, well, let's just say it, Islamist groups, well, it only makes sense if you look at his past statements.
Don't forget his glazing of Russia.
Yeah,
pretty cool.
or his glazing of Trump when we know that privately he hated Trump, right? Like, there's like text of like, I despise this person. I can't even talk to somebody who's like friends with them or who will like say positive things about them. Like, he's just like the fakest of fake people ever. Like, if you're talking about authenticity, this guy will say whatever it takes to make money. And he'll make money through whatever means necessary. And I guess get your bag, okay?
Yeah,
But don't think of him as on our side. He's an actively hostile force to both MAGA and the United States interests.
Oh, so in that sense, he's basically what, Nick Fuentes to you? You see them both as opportunistically pursuing that which profits.
No, I actually think they're very different. I do not think Nick Fuentes is getting money from any foreign power.
No, but he's subject to audience capture. He's leaning into what sells well.
True, but I think that Nick Fuentes is sort of like Andrew Tate, even though his wider ideological perspective may be incoherent, and you can look at our other video where we go over this, like the fascinating ideology of Nick Fuentes. It is, he's played the role for so long and so fervently that I think he 100% believes it, right? In the same way that Andrew Tate believes Andrew Tate is Andrew Tate. He has become the Santa Claus. You know, I think he might be a little more self-aware than Andrew Tate, but he's pretty much there. The Tucker Carlson, he'll be up there glazing Trump in public while sending horrible texts about him in private.
He doesn't drink his own Kool-Aid.
Yeah, he'll be incredibly aware of the Islamic threat to the United States and Europe one day, and then the next day, Islamists are great and they're really just misunderstood. Like, I don't care about his stuff with Putin, whatever. Get the interviews with these cool Putin, Hugo Chavez, like that's cool, like, or whatever, the Venezuela, Maduro, like that's cool. Like, get your interviews, right? Like, you can't say bad things around a dictator, do your thing, right?
Yeah, that's fair.
But the other stuff, like the pro-Islamist stuff, I don't that he's not on our side, is what I'll say. But having people with lots of money who can hire these sorts of high-level private investigators, I said a lot. So my point being is that's why I am quite certain that the FBI knew all this, and then that they delayed and didn't release any of this information, when of course you would have, right? And then their weird response when Tucker Carlson reached out to them about this, and they're like, how can you verify that this is the correct information? Tucker Carlson literally got this guy's Google Drive. So he has personal video of this guy like posing with a gun in his own house that hasn't been released to the public, that is that in the metadata is set to his parents' house location.
Oh my gosh.
You can be pretty sure it's the right information. He got this guy's Google search history, which, by the way, unlike what the FBI reported, where they said he had equal number of searches for Trump rallies and Biden rallies, we know that he repeatedly and obsessively searched Trump and past assassins. We're lying.
Well, also, I mean, I do now vaguely recall people saying what he was after was just notoriety or fame.
Yeah, that's what they said, but that's not true.
But also, I mean, I don't think anyone would have gotten any of that for assassinating Biden when the story was Biden's basically dead as it is. You'd be shooting a corpse.
Yeah, but
so
we now know that wasn't the case. Who was far left in his ideology at this point?
No, it's clear now that wasn't. At least that wasn't all of it. I mean, I think anyone who does such a high-profile attempt in such cases is going for notoriety. But
why do I think the FBI was involved?
Okay,
let's go over the core pieces of evidence. They're really hard to deal with here.
All right.
One, you have basically it's confirmed 100% that they just knowingly lied about this and covered it up. Okay, so we've got that. But then there's the second thing, too many coincidences. That individual spot being unguarded is insane. The drone system being down the day that this guy was going to attempt his assassination attempt, that's completely insane. Second, the support being unreachable for hours when the drone system was down, that too is insane that all happened at once.
Yeah.
Okay. All of these things happening at the same time. Oh, this guy, by the way, was also with surveying equipment, is sort of like pulled aside by Secret Service at one point during the event. And then they lost track of him. They lost track of a suspicious person at a presidential event who later finds his way to a roof where people in the crowd can see him and are yelling out about it, but the trained snipers cannot. No. Then they refuse to use the police drone equipment on top of all of this. No, you could say, well, the police weren't collaborating in the no, the police were collaborating. Policemen were actually, they were in charge of the outer perimeter. So they were collaborating. They were part of this. So that seems insane to me. Then the lack of a manifesto or unaliving note. Totally weird to me. Why don't we have that? Who does that? Especially if they're as political as this guy is.
Well, and he must have known that this was a kamikaze mission, given that he would be surrounded by the Secret Service.
No, he said some stuff that appears that he thought it wasn't a kamikaze mission.
Where? When?
Even if you thought it wasn't a kamikaze mission, you would at least, if you're doing it for ideological reasons, which is clear he was, write something about that. Now, there is one alternative.
Okay.
The FBI destroyed the note because they didn't want it to be known that he was a far left anti-MAGA person, themselves looking incriminated. But that's a little too deliberate. With everything else, it's been like, well, he did say anti-Semitic things at one point, and he did say anti-immigrant things at one point, and he did have a far-right opinion at one point, right? So they weren't direct lies like destroying evidence, but let's look at a different scenario here. Okay? And for me, the biggest thing is the early cremation, the no body parts left, and them personally cleaning up the site. Them personally cleaning up the site, I'm like, it's suspicious, but whatever. The early cremation before any other agency could start investigating this, that's completely untoward. That is completely insane, especially without getting any tissue samples. So now you need to ask the question. Okay, if all of the discrepancies in this case could be explained by them trying to hide that he was a far left extremist, why then was it so important that they hid whatever was in his tissue samples? Okay?
Okay.
Now this is where that gets interesting, right? Well, that would have nothing to do with his politics, right? So if there was something in his tissue samples and he was in a not right state of mind, missed an easy shot, okay? And he actually, one of his quotes, somebody was like, you're not even like a trained rifleist. And he's like, well, this shooter wasn't and this shooter wasn't. All that matters is that you have the will to go out and do it. And the problem was, okay, is that, what were they saying here? Is that why would they be afraid of a tissue sample getting out, right? Like, I've got to ask, like, why are they apparently terrified of any other organization getting a tissue sample?
Yeah, I don't see why. And that's why I'm also like, I don't know, fine, cremate the body.
If it was just a normal drug, you just say it's a normal drug, right? Suppose they had a guy come up, even if a guy come up and drug him, or he's on a drug, it wouldn't matter, right? Oh God, the guy who tried to kill the president was on meth,
antidepressants or something. Or whatever.
But what if it wasn't a normal drug? What if it was a drug that was specifically tied to FBI radicalization or brainwashing programs, which they have for interrogations and stuff like that?
Really?
No. I mean, when they're doing like interrogations and stuff, a very high profile stuff, we know from MK Ultra, they have done research into this sort of stuff before. Now, no, it may not have been a licensed, what do I think? It obviously wasn't an officially licensed operation. This was their off the book black site team type stuff, right? Like, this is not stuff that needs to get approval. This is stuff where you still have all those old toolkits from MK Ultra days.
Okay.
I can think of no other reason where in something as high profile as a presidential assassination attempt, they would have been so eager to destroy all of the physical evidence of the body.
Yeah, if I were really compelled by this, I would look up what the standard procedure is in the state of Pennsylvania for suspected murderers who've been shot on site.
Okay, let's just ask.
Yeah, I'll ask Grok. You can ask Grok.
I said, if someone in Pennsylvania tried to assassinate someone running for president, what is the probability that law enforcement would keep tissue samples for cross-examination or delay a cremation? How long would they normally delay the cremation? And what it says here, coroners are required by law in Pennsylvania to retain tissues, organs, blood, and other biological samples for diagnostic, evidentiary, and confirmation purposes when necessary to establish or defend a cause of death in criminal investigations.
Yeah, this says
including
Pennsylvania
assassination.
law, that is 16 PS something, whatever, requires coroners to investigate such deaths and order an autopsy if needed to determine cause and manner of death. Well, okay, they knew the cause and manner of death.
Yeah, and they had done an autopsy, but that's also been kept private.
So the CDC's Violent Death Reporting System, PAVDRS, which explicitly collects toxicology results for homicides and police-involved deaths. So because this was a violent homicide attempt, at least, they should have gotten a toxicology report, which helps to determine which substances may have contributed to the suspect's actions. So the fact, was there any known toxicology report? I mean, they could have cremated the body after doing all the
He was cremated 10 days after dying.
I know, but you can easily do a toxicology report in
right, but you're missing the point, Simone. So you would keep and as I asked in mine, which you didn't ask in yours, because you're like, oh, they did a token local mortician did a autopsy, right?
Yeah.
No, you would keep something, and legally you have to keep something for cross-examination. So they were supposed to wait 30 days. They waited 10 days. They were supposed to keep tissue samples, blood samples, and organ samples for cross-examination. That's by law. This isn't even just like normal procedure, which presumably they were allowed to violate because they're the FBI. And they're like, well, we get to violate normal procedure. So did that not now seem extra suspicious to you, Simone?
I don't know. It's hard. I'm biased because I just have this intense desire to get rid of dead bodies. I think they're gross. I don't like bodies at all, like living or dead. You know how I am. I'm just like, ugh. So,
Simone,
but yeah, this is different. This is a crime.
He attempted to assassinate somebody running for president.
Yeah, big deal person.
You would expect you'd have more than one mortician look at the autopsy, right? You'd expect you would have at least teams from 2 departments.
But man, people are so incompetent. People are so disorganized. Every time we think, oh, top people are on this. No, they're not.
So basically you're saying, and I will frame what you're saying in a different way, because I actually think it's a strong point. You think, yes, this seems wildly unlikely, right? But even though it's wildly unlikely, is it more likely that a government department after DEI was just this incompetent, or that they had assigned a team to attempt to get a presidential candidate unalived?
I wouldn't even argue it's like a post DEI thing. I could even argue it's because this was such a big deal and also so weird and unprecedented that you just have a lot of people who are like, I want this off my hands. Like, I don't want this body here anymore. Like, this is just too stressful. Like, let's just give the body back to the family and they can do what they want with it. And the family cremates it and everyone's just like, gone.
No, I find that completely implausible. If you're like, oh my God, I have one of the most explosive cases of my entire career, which is what this was for everyone involved. Like the single biggest thing of their entire career, an attempted presidential assassination live on air. Okay. Like the very last thing I would do is rush to get it off my desk.
That's you.
It doesn't need to be a that's me. There were 340 FBI employees working on this. It wasn't like it fell on one back clerk's desk.
The more people working on something, the lower the IQ collectively.
Yeah, but my point being, Simone, is if any of the people working on this, or if any large faction of the people working on this, unless it was direct orders to attempt to get this wrapped up as quickly and quietly as possible, was like, hey, this could be the case of my career. I really want to bust this. I really want to learn more about this. They would say, hey, why did you approve this super early cremation? Why don't we have tissue samples?
I
And
don't know. People.
the second reason you
could
could be like, Malcolm, this is crazy. If they were going to do something like this, they would have used their own snipers. Or
I mean,
something
keep
like
in mind, like, just like all the rape kits that have one, like, people just haven't properly administered them, or they've been shipped off somewhere. And they're like, I don't know, like, I mean, like,
this isn't a random grape, Simone. This is a presidential assassination
I
attempt.
know, but stuff ends up in offices, and people,
This is
like
losing
Einstein's
the great
brain
of
is
the president's
missing.
daughter. Like
but there are all these like famous cases of like kind of big deal stuff that just kind of falls through the cracks weirdly.
Yeah, but this is
sometimes especially because it's big deal stuff
through the cracks. Now here,
I mean, keep in mind, so the Louvre, right? Like, which just got, the French crown jewel stolen from it, right? You think, oh, they have the best security. No, they don't. Well, guess what?
No,
Even
they
after
did
all this,
until they hired
even
this
after
woman.
all this, someone snuck in a painting and installed it next to the Mona Lisa. Just, okay, great. Yeah, because, even still, even after, yeah, so of course the security team there, just your same argument, right? This is their time to shine. This is their time to show that they really have things under control. No,
but that was the famous DEI security team, right? The one where it was a woman's team. They had recently put her on board and she made all these videos. You're talking about the recent heist, right?
Yes, at the Louvre.
She made all these videos about how she was going to increase equity at the Louvre and among security staff, and a bunch of cameras that had previously been active were deactive, and like, Simone, this was completely
after that case. You're also describing the Secret Service at that time, famous like female leader at that time. They were all DEI, but then after that, they have the chance. You're arguing that after that, somehow they've become competent. All these forces that failed up to that point. No, they didn't. They just continued to fail. Like everything was flubbed up to the moment of Trump potentially being assassinated.
Okay, so Simone, I'm going to give you a separate here, because this may make the drugged kid a more likely explanation for you. So we know how quickly accounts got banned during that era of American history for violence, COVID mentions, everything like that, right?
Yes.
Weirdly, his accounts weren't banned. So now we're going to say, okay, I'm a faction at the FBI who has authorization to attempt to kill a presidential candidate, right? I'm going to go out and I'm going to make this attempt, right? So how do I do that, right? One thing you absolutely cannot do is use an FBI assassin, because you can't have an assassin who nobody finds, right? They need a body, basically, right? They need to eventually pin it on somebody for something this big. Sure. That would be stupid. So you're not going to do that, okay?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so by the way, another crazy thing that Tucker did on his show, sorry, just a slight tangent, is he kept being like, and then they tried to cover it up by saying that there were these Iranian assassination attempts. And yet there is extensive documentation that they were.
No, not this exact attack, but another assassination attack that was being attempted at the same time. For more information here, prosecutors say Fareed Shakari, who is believed to be residing in Iran, told investigators on a phone interview that unnamed IRG officials pushed him to plan to attack against Trump last month. If the plan could not come together in time, the Iranian officials directed Shakari to delay the plot until after the presidential election because the official, quote, assessed that Trump would lose the election, end quote, charging documents revealed. So, like, they admitted it. The guy said, yes, I was told to assassinate Trump.
But again, he has to glaze any Islamist, any anti-American regime. But anyway, so back to the point here. So, okay, I have maybe a collection of unstable people I am aware of who have connections to organized crime or terrorist organizations. Now, let's look, say, is there a period in history where the FBI might have tried to assassinate a presidential candidate in the past? Did they go after somebody who was directly in a gang or a terrorist organization to do this? Or did they look for somebody with ties to these groups, but that was otherwise a lone agent?
That's all alleged, okay? It's all alleged.
I am just saying they may have a profile for how they go about these types of things.
History doesn't repeat itself, it rhymes.
By the way, I'm talking about Lee Harvey Oswald, if people are not aware. He wasn't directly in a mob, he wasn't directly in a terrorist cell, but he had connections to them, okay? So this guy has connections to them. He appears to be mentally unstable, and his mental health appears to be deteriorating really quickly over time.
Okay, so you're just saying they're using the playbook. That's the best evidence I've heard so far, but it just is evidence of rhyming with another alleged connection. But
No, but the secondary piece of evidence is no suicide note, no unaliving note, right? Like the key time you wouldn't do this is if you were high off your butt on some form of drug, right?
So yeah, okay. I hear all of your theories. My Occam's razor still leans in favor of everyone here was just lazy and incompetent,
What do you think
including
about
the
them saying that-
assassin who
Wait,
just
wait, what do you
couldn't
think
be
about them saying
bothered.
that he was an anti-immigrant, Jewish guy? Like, do you think that was just innocent? They did bad research, or do you think that was intentional?
I think he was a kid.
No. Sorry, Simone. He has a very well documented online history
Yeah.
of being far right and then far left.
Yeah.
Yet they only said the far right stuff he had said in the
Well,
past.
because that's convenient. I mean, I do still think that the FBI and the CIA and the deep state in general, I don't think I know. I mean, because it's well documented. The deep state hates the Trump administration, and they should, because he's a direct threat to them. Like, I don't deny any of that.
But what I'm asking is, do you think they sat down and said, here's a bunch of stuff that makes him look like a progressive extremist. We need to make sure to not mention that.
Yeah, I'll buy that. I'll buy that. I mean, I absolutely think that things were spun after the assassination attempt in a way that was designed to help Biden get elected.
And why do you think that the directors, when pushed for information on this particular case, kept saying things like the case isn't closed yet, or delayed for over a year releasing any information?
Because they probably actually wanted to find out what was going on. I mean, it's still important to understand, even if you're not directly responsible for it. So what I agree with is they skewed the coverage of the event, but two, they did investigate it per procedure to
they didn't
find out if he was acting alone
if
or not.
if they had, they would have released the information afterwards. They rigged an election.
In the end, they found no evidence that he was acting with someone else.
Well, no. We don't know. They have said that that's what they found.
I know that. Right? Well, that's what they said, but that's what I think is most likely, given everything. But
I don't buy it. Our audience can weigh in.
Yeah, weigh in the comments, guys. Whose side are you on here?
Do you agree with Simone or Malcolm? What is more likely?
I'm sorry, but the sad reality of it is people are incompetent and lazy, and I wish that weren't true. I promise you, I wish that weren't true.
I can believe that on the assassination thing. I absolutely cannot believe that on the pretending he was a conservative.
They still wanted the election to go a certain way. I'm with you on that. That's entirely. I'm 100%. I do not have doubts there.
No, but do you think that they knew that
to go a certain way? Do they think?
Do you think they knew that and intentionally did not reveal it?
Yeah. I know. I mean, like, and because there are many stories already, things that have been leaked, things that have been revealed after the fact, of the deep state choosing to reveal or not reveal certain information because they knew it would be flattering or unflattering to them at election time. And that is standard playbook behavior. It is well documented, it's well attested, it has happened many times before, and it will happen many times hence.
Okay. Well,
there's stuff beyond that though. Anyway, let's go on.
We need to end with a remembrance of the firefighter who died protecting his family on that day.
Corey Comperator.
Yeah. And then 2, we need to extend a thank you for uncovering this information to Tucker's Qatari handlers. You guys did an excellent job on this.
Wonderful job.
I am not above taking money. So if you want me to not say so many negative things about Iran, I'm here.
And that's our problem, is that like Doha Debates was going to fly us out on business class for something. They didn't. Well, you know why we're not saying nice stuff about you guys? So you're not paying.
Yeah, that would be an easy time to approach us. Come on, guys.
We're cheap dates. Come on.
Yeah. We don't have a job right now, okay? I don't need that much money to live out here in my farm in Pennsylvania, right?
No, we're not making this hard. Okay. All right. Over and out.
Love you.
Oh, they're still here?
Yeah, so I was telling them to stop.
Oh, what? They were like taking too much?
Yeah.
Thieves. At least they asked. There was a lemon tree in front of my childhood house that had a lot of lemons, and we would have gladly said go ahead and pick lemons, but people would drive by in their cars, leave them idling, run in, grab a bunch, run away, and like speed off in a way that would probably hit pedestrians and animals, because I think they were really afraid of being apprehended. They could have just asked. I guess asking is stressful. So, oh well. You know how our kids just take off their clothes randomly? I realize that's genetic. You do that all the time. Like walk through the house and it looks like you've raptured. Just like your clothes are like on the ground.
Our kids are literally like this. It is so hard to get them to wear clothes. Toasty's like, I don't need them. Why would I wear them?
Yeah, and I don't know, it's kind of chilly. So I don't get it. And you were like, oh, I'll join the recording room shortly. I need to get dressed. And I'm like, wait, it's 2 p.m. Why is he not dressed?
Because what have I done? Oh yeah, we were out earlier today, but I was
you were fully dressed when we went out to get groceries this morning early.
Okay, hold on. I've got to get all my sources up because I've got a lot of them. Was this one?
I'm excited for the conversation. So tonight I thought out more of the beef that I prepared using that method that you requested, and then theoretically you're going to tell me how you want me to saute the bok choy, and I will do that along with the
Thank you so much. Sorry, I have just been slammed today with programming.
And I've been slammed with admin, and we've both had a productive day. So, I mean, it's a good life. We're moving things forward. That's what matters.
This looks amazing. Now I'm just looking at the look of it first. I got my beautiful wife and beautiful kids.